We're proud to announce
Chance Forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. My name is Rhonda Daniel, your club president, and we are so glad that you are with us today. We're going to start our meeting by having past President Tim Colwell come forward, past President Matt Davis, on the piano is Tom Wolf, visitor introduction is Luann Bollinger, and now Tim Colwell.
Thank you. That means we need to pray, so would you please join me in prayer? Father God, we come before you in honor and service. As Rotarians, use us to serve your people here in Tulsa and around the world. As community leaders, show us areas right here so we can make a difference to help those in need. Father God, use our resources to help eliminate polio, to provide fresh water, to promote education, and to foster greater understanding and peace in the world. Thanks for the opportunity to serve you through our service in Rotary. Amen.
Let's sing our national anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Now is the time when we like to introduce our guests. So when you hear your name and that of your host Rotarian, please stand up for a few seconds and we will hold applause until the end. Visiting today is Emma Leah Cito with WPX and her host is Melissa Clark. Also we have Dylan Nall with We Be Trees. His host is Tim Nall. There you go. We have Mike Longmire, husband of Joy Longmire. Mark Morley and Walker Hansen, who have come with Jerry Dillon today. Bob Frame and Rob Berry has brought Rob. Welcome. Jim Mitchell, brought by Ray Batchelor. Shelby Beal, who works with Tim Lyons. Randy Carson and Kim Houghton with Regina Moon. Mike Wilson of Blue Ribbon Landscape has come with Becky Fields. And Patty Bryant of Tulsa County has come with Michael Willis. Thank you for visiting today. We also have several visiting Rotarians, and we'll give them a high Rotarian. First of all, from Sand Springs, past President Harlan Pinkerton. Hi, Harlan. From Bixby, Wayne Schwanee. And from Bristow, Mickey Moore. Thank you for coming, everyone. Please come again.
Thank you, volunteers. I want to recognize this week's sponsors, Greg Keck with Jackie Cooper Imports, and thank you, Greg, for that. We encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. In addition to the sponsors, let's thank the volunteers who came a little bit early to make this meeting run smoothly. Give them a round of applause. You know who you are. Okay. We have a couple announcements. As it has been our tradition for many years, we will once again enjoy Steak Day. Does anybody know what Steak Day means? It means I'm in my last month. Be sure that we have enough steaks. Please be sure to sign up. Even though you are a Rotarian, a member of the club, be sure to put your name down and the names of your guests so we have enough steaks. The guest price that day is $15 compared to the usual price of $13. We have a few committee meetings today. Budget Committee in room 233, IBA Awards in room 232, International Projects, room 234, and Technology and Production in the Beacon Room. And now, I have Matthew Bristow, our Sergeant at Arms. Let's give him a round of applause. What a great job he's done this year.
See, Rhonda always catches me off guard because I used to have another 5 minutes to eat lunch, and now I have to put it down and come and speak. But delighted to be here. Another great round of fines to go. Leisha's keeping me on my toes. I appreciate that. Yeah. Smooth that transition into you being Sarge. So first up today, Joseph is not in his usual spot, but was very kind. 19 years in Rotary, 20 years as music director here, 17 because it's 17th annual Crescendo Music Awards, and 19 because the Crescendo event next year is on March 19th. So $75, and thank you very much to Joseph. And Becky, one of our most active new Rotarians, taking on Camp Enterprise next year. She has a birthday tomorrow, June 4th, and gave us $100. So thank you very much, Becky. I want you to know that I will find people anywhere. So I was finishing up church on Sunday, and Jeffrey made the mistake of coming over to say hello. And I told him I'd look forward to seeing him on Wednesday, and he left giving me $100. But he has just taken on a new position as Vice President of Finance at TokenX. He's excited about that, and great guy. $100. Thanks very much, Jeffrey. Mr. Paget, 18 years in Rotary, 44th wedding anniversary upcoming with his wife Debbie, and 63 birthday years, nicely rounded out to 125. So thank you very much, Doug. It's like an opportunity to brag if you're on vacation and you're celebrating, but it is Linda and Wayne's 51st wedding anniversary. If you can't read the text, they're right now, I think, they're at we planned it this way, that she's probably in the bar at the bottom, but they were at the beautiful, amazing Benedictine monastery on the mountain of Montserrat, Catalonia in Spain, with their 18-year-old grandson, Andrew, and the well-known Tina Miller, who helped push them up the mountain, and she said the view was great. So congratulations to Linda and Wayne, $100 for the Centennial Gala, and $51 for each year of Wedded Bliss. Thank you very much. And the last one up today, Mr. Vanderslice is turning 40 on June 6th. And he wanted to recognize the fact that we're this close to ending polio, and he was that close, apparently, to catching a really big bass that day. Though we didn't see the after picture, so somehow I guess that may not have happened. But it's $100 for each decade, and $100 for recognizing Rotary's efforts with polio, $500. Thank you very much, everyone.
Mr. Tim has some wonderful news for us.
Well, fellow Rotarians, you all haven't been putting up with this for the last 2.5 years, but Jerry Cornelius and I have, and we are so thrilled that our books have arrived. You all have participated in one way or another in this, and so on June 17th, mark that in your calendars, we'll be distributing those books to those of you who attended the April 1st Centennial Gala. Now, if you didn't and want to purchase a book, we are offering them at the reduced price of $50 per copy. And then in addition, Linda, who is in Spain, asked me to also promote that The centerpieces at the gala that evening are spirit poles, and they reflect the great logo that Ron Butler designed for our centennial. These are also available starting next week for $50 a piece. A portion of that will go to the Oklahoma Centennial fund where these all came from. And then in addition, many of you have asked for videos of the program that night with Jana Jay and Wilf Wilkinson and others. And Ed Monette, yeah. Of course, you want to pay $20 to see Ed Monette. Those DVDs will be available next week as well. So please put on your calendar. We're going to be distributing the books on June 17th. Did I make it in 2 minutes?
You were great.
Yay! All right, great. Thanks.
Brenda Melancon, you have something special for us today.
Thank you, President Rhonda. Medical Supplies Network is a project of District 6110, and to date we have shipped over 204 sea containers of medical supplies to developing third world countries. The Rotary Club of Tulsa has made a donation to MS&I in honor of one of our own as an MS&I ambassador. Our fellow Rotarian has worked countless hours preparing equipment for shipment, sorting and inventorying medical supplies. She rarely knows where the supplies will be delivered, but she does know that her contribution makes it possible for others in need to benefit. She has supported MS&I by donating to the annual car raffle fundraiser, which she has not won, but maybe this is her year. She is on many committees within our Rotary Club. She is International Projects, Rotary Foundation, Salvation Army Bell Ringers. She's also a Paul Harris Fellow and a Club Foundation Fellow. It is my privilege and honor to present fellow Rotarian Linda Adloff with this year's MS&I Ambassador Award. Linda.
You have to come up. Make the walk. Let's give her a round of applause. This was a surprise.
Am I in trouble?
No, thank you so much. And this is my most favorite project in the whole world. And I tell people all the time, if you're getting rid of that, I know somewhere that it can go. Let's get a picture.
Let's give her another round. President-elect Jeff Hassel.
Thank you, Rhonda. This is probably the last time I'll get up and talk about committees for next year, because soon it won't be next year, it'll be this year. I think that's how it works. So again, last time, reminders, there are blue sheets on your tables if you don't like the internet, don't like DACDB. For you to sign up for committees, you can still do it on DACDB. I was looking at this, and it's kind of interesting. We have 32 committees. You'll notice that for each of the committees on your blue sheets, there's a Rotarian who has stepped up to be the committee chair. And you'll see above each of the committees, they're in groups by service areas. And you'll see people who have volunteered to be the service area director. So a lot of people in the club have already stepped up, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, those people need your help. So please sign up and let's have a good year. The second thing I want to mention before I sit down is this. I said a few weeks ago, try something new, and then several people came to me and said, well, does that mean you're trying to push all the old people out? That is not it at all. I want everybody to continue to serve on committees they're used to serving on. I was just trying to point out that in addition to the one you've been on for 10, 20, 30 years, try a new one. Just try it, see what you think. And I can't leave the podium or the side mic, President Rhonda, without mentioning to everyone that my wife and I are headed to Brazil tomorrow. Very exciting. We're excited about the opportunity. I understand there will be at least 14,000 Rotarians from around the world at the International Convention. And I do promise you that I will have an interesting, entertaining, and exciting report for you about the convention.
Thank you. Past President Tom, I have no idea what you want to talk to us about.
That's right. Thank you, President Rhonda. Our 22nd annual IBA Awards is just 19 days away. This is our annual fundraiser for our club's foundation, which funds not only our club projects, but also our local grants to area nonprofits. This year's event also benefits our female honoree, Melissa Arnott's foundation, the Juniper Fund, which supports the families of the recent earthquake victims in Nepal. She was there attempting her 6th climb of Mount Everest when the earthquake hit. She survived the avalanche. Come hear her story. You also need to read the article about her in the Tulsa People, which past President Phil Lakin wrote. It's a great article about Melissa. This year's event also benefits the Chris Harris Foundation. Chris Harris from Bixby, Oklahoma, now Denver Broncos All-Pro, highest-rated cornerback. 4 days after our event, Chris will be holding his annual Bixby Underdog Football Camp at Bixby High School Stadium. Come hear his underdog story about never giving up on his dream to play in the NFL. Our lineup also includes our MC, Seth Davis, back for the 4th year. Also, our keynote speaker is Fireball Southern Illinois basketball coach Barry Henson. Come hear about him and his first college job working for Mr. Iba at OSU. Support our club's foundation. Stop by the table in the lobby. Get your tickets. Thanks.
Thank you. It is now time for the Rotarian of the Day. Today we have Steve Whitaker. Steve is the Executive Director of John 3:16 Mission. He's been a member of our club since December of 2001. Rotarian of the Day, Steve Whitaker.
Thank you, President Rhonda. Well, it's my privilege today to be able to introduce our guest today, Coach Pat Jones. I know most of you know him as just Coach. And so before I introduce him, I want to tell you the backstory to this and the reason I'm the person that's introducing him today, because just about anybody in here is probably more qualified to introduce him than I am. I'm an old OBU guy, Oklahoma Baptist University. But my best friend went to OSU, so maybe that qualifies me.
And you're wearing the tie.
And I am wearing, by the way, Keith Bailey's tie of power today. Although there was some debate about whether it was orange or red. Just saying about that. And most of you, if you've been in Tulsa at Thanksgiving time, have received some kind of solicitation from John 3:16 to help us feed the homeless. And one of my favorite people to call up, because he likes the phone call and I like to visit with him, is Keith Bailey. And in visiting with Keith this last year during November, during one of our radiothons that we do, he said that if I could get Coach to come to Rotary, that he would give a significant gift to my campaign. And so that motivated me. And I knew Coach already from doing some radio for John 3:16, and we'd already struck up a friendship. So I called him, and he was kind enough to say that he would be happy to come and to speak to us at Rotary. So there's that. Nothing like leveraging the local charity to get somebody to come and speak. Pat Jones was born in 1947 in Memphis, Tennessee, and grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, where he developed an intense desire for football at a young age. In junior high, he was a linebacker. In senior high, he played guard and made All-State honorable mention in his senior year. And then in college, he played linebacker and nose guard at Arkansas Tech. As we all know, he is a well-respected coach. Former assistant coach at the University of Arkansas, SMU, University of Pittsburgh, the Miami Dolphins, and the Oakland Raiders. He spent 16 years for us at Oklahoma State, 11 years of them as a head coach at OSU. Some of the special moments in his career that were important to him. He received the honor in 1989 and 1992 as the Big 8 Coach of the Year. He coached 9 All-Americans, 2 NFL Hall of Famers, 1 Heisman Trophy winner. Pat's also received the distinction of being a member of the Gator Bowl Hall of Fame, the Arkansas Sport Hall of Fame, and the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. You can hear Coach on the Sports Animal about any day of the week. Coach, thank you for coming today. Please give him a warm Rotary welcome today.
Everybody's got a price. Now, this thing came down. My old friend Keith Bailey, who I've known forever, and he had been after me to come to speak at this event, and I kept on telling him, I said, Keith, I do radio in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and those people are pretty good to me, and I just can't walk away from it. And so this, he kept on asking me, and then, like Steve said, this thing popped up, and there's a little bit more to it than that. Actually, Keith has been very good to Steve in what he does, and when this came up, he said, if I'll come speak, I will double what I give to you. And then I told Steve, I said, okay, now I've been through some of this before, and I've heard people promise things, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But I said, tell Bailey now, I'll do this if he'll come across now. And he came across, and he did, and of course he's in Wyoming out there now, and he's not here today. But and we have had the and I say this honestly, the pleasure of working with Steve. And if you have a chance to, there's a lot of people around here do a lot of good things for a lot of people. He's right at the top of the list with the John 3:16 group. And if you ever have a chance to, to help them in any way, please do, because there's nobody around that works any harder at than Steve Whitaker. If you think it's a little bit early, this is early in June, if you think it's a little bit early to talk football, understand this. And what's the date of today? Day is the 3rd. The Canadian Football League opens their regular season the 13th. I know that's not a big topic, but they actually crank it up for real the 13th. The NFL guys are right now in what they call their organized team activities and their mini camps, which is their version of spring practices like the colleges do. The college, and then they'll crank it up around the 1st of August for real. The colleges report somewhere around early in August between Oklahoma State, TU, University of Arkansas. Let me say this right now. Are there any Arkansas people in this crowd? Are there any university? Okay, because it is the Harvard of the Ozarks. And Steve did. I finished. I just went one semester at Arkansas Tech and went there and played and finished and went back and coached there. And it is the Harvard of the Ozarks. It is the epicenter of education in this part of the world. That's what they told me. That's what I told some of them when I went out recruiting. But seriously, it's, getting into this period of time, and I like to have, let people ask questions and when we get to the tail end of this thing, and I was wondering how much time to spend because I have seen the University of Arkansas. I think leading into this, and I will take, again, like for 7 years, I did the Fox Sports Southwest Big 12 studio show. This will be the 10th year I've been out of coaching, and we live right down the street here. And, I got to see a whole lot of obviously the Big 12 people every week, which reminds me of a tie story. Steve was talking about this tie. When I did that, the Fox people, the big Fox people we used to have before the start of the season, it was down there in Dallas, and they used to have a meeting, and the big guys from L.A., and they'd talk to you about one thing or another. One of the things they pointed out to you was we'd like for you guys, when you do the television, which a lot of it was national, to wear a tie that pops out. Pops, okay? Well, early on the show, this is a true story, I wore, and I'm not really into wearing school color ties. I've been so many different places. I got all kind of school colors, but I did wear one. I think I can remember I had a Navy suit or something on. I wore a tie that had orange and blue stripes on it. And that was early in the season down there. And about the next week, I showed up on Saturday, as we did, got in there, and one of the producers came in and said, smile. I said, what's the matter? What's happened here? He said, I had a call from one Joe Castiglione, the athletic director of the University of Oklahoma, who's an old friend of mine. I've known Joe forever. Called me and said, does he have to wear an orange tie when he goes on? I said, oh, no, I can't win that one. I wear a red one, and my Oklahoma State friends call me all kind of things. So I claim it's Arkansas, and that doesn't work all the time. But so anyway, I think and I've seen most of these guys around here. I'm going to start with the University of Oklahoma. I was telling Steve, we were talking about this a minute ago, to me, this is probably the most interesting season that I can remember since I've been out of coaching, watching the University of Oklahoma. And I'm giving this from I know those people, and I have a very good relationship, and they're good with me, and I've hired some of those guys before they were down there, all that kind of stuff. So this is not some kind of other deal. But with what a year ago at this time, and I was right there with them. I thought they would have a legitimate chance to win the national title with what they had done to Alabama a year ago in the Sugar Bowl. Trevor Knight, the quarterback, had really played well. It looked like they had the ingredients, and the scheduling looked like it fell just exactly right to me, and all this kind of stuff. And well, now going into this particular season, there's probably as many question marks that, and I obviously can't speak for them, but I think if you gave them truth serum, they'd say what I'm saying. There's as many question marks going into this season for the University of Oklahoma as any I can remember since I've been out of coaching. Bob Stoops, who is outstanding, he has become the winningest coach at the University of Oklahoma. I tease my friend Switzer with that if I really want to irritate him. Switzer and I do quite a bit of stuff together, and if I really want to try to get under here, of course, he turns around and tells me, he said, well, I was the winningest coach at Oklahoma State, our former quarterback just blew by me, so, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, but I think it's interesting that in a 2-year period, Coach Stoops is known throughout the business as one of the most loyal men there is, and really a good guy to work for. Obviously has been ultra successful. But in the last 2 years, they've done more. They've had more staff changes than really any other time. For a long time, they didn't do any of that. And you stay in it long enough, which he has. He's going into his 17th year as head coach down there, which is amazing for any of them. But he had to make, or did make, for whatever reason, more staff moves than they have before. Now, we don't know how that's going to work. You don't know long term. You really don't. So I think that adds some question marks to the deal. You have no idea who the quarterback's going to be. I don't think they do. You got one of those young kids transferred out the other day, so that's one less. You got the little kid that transferred in from Texas Tech, and all my OU friends think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I fail to believe it till I see it. But and then Trevor Knight, the kid that played it really well a year ago. You don't know what's going on there. The big running back, the Pirine kid, is one of the better running backs in the country. I think that's without saying that. And that gives them obviously something to start with. Well, now my journalistic friends will ask me this: if they have the best running back or one of the better running backs in the country, and they let go of Josh Heupel, the former quarterback, and brought in the young man from East Carolina, Lincoln Riley, to run their offense, and he's a quote air raid guy. So how does air raid combine with one of the better running backs around here? And I've tried to explain to them, regardless of what your gig is offensively, they're going to pump the ball to this kid and make people tackle him, and conversely, that's a simple way to do it. But it'll be interesting. I look at their schedule. A thing that is, and for the OU folk in this crowd, don't get this wrong, because I'm not picking in any way. I've been through some of this. The thing that is different to me right now, observing them, is Clemson beats them 40-6 in the bowl game. Baylor beats them 48-14 for the third time in 4 years. Let me repeat what I said. Baylor just beat OU for the third time in 4 years, okay? That's not OU. I know that. They know that. Great job, Baylor, but there's a really a different air to me about kind of the upcoming season in Norman, as much as any that I can remember since I've been out of coaching, which is now 10 years following this stuff. Again, they open with Akron. Their win, the one to watch is September the 12th. They go to Knoxville, Tennessee. I haven't seen much of Tennessee lately, but they got a guy that's now hit, Butch Jones, who's into his third year of his regime, and you hear around that they're continuing to get better, and this, that, and other. So this will be the one to probably watch as far as the early season part of the thing. If OU goes over there and beats them, they're going to beat Tulsa. Then they got West Virginia, Texas, K-State, Tech, Kansas. They can get on, depending on what happens, and of course, who knows with Texas this day and time, but again, the Tennessee game early on is the one to watch. again, I'm going to look at my clock here so I'll give myself enough time. But that's the one to watch as far as what goes on with OU as far as setting the tone of things early in the season. If they get going, I mean, you can't write them off because they're OU. On the same hand, the difference is everybody that puts a crimson and cream helmet on is not God's gift to football, as attested by getting beat 40-6 and 48-14. And, I mean, I'm just being, and that's how it's viewed, So it's, wow, gosh, did they really, Yeah, well, it did happen, and that's what we're dealing with now, and that's what they're dealing with now, and so it's very, very interesting to see kind of what goes on there from there. I look at our friends in Stillwater, and I've seen them in the spring. I'll get out in the spring and say I did not make it to Norman this time, but I did get to Stillwater. I did get over here to CTU, and I went to Fayetteville and saw Arkansas. I'll repeat that in the fall and go watch them and get a feel for the overall talent level and individuals and these sorts of things. It's funny how the game of football is. Mike Gundy, who obviously played quarterback for us when we were over there and gave him his first job and all that stuff, and again, Mike went from when they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, and Mike conversely hadn't got a lick of sense. And then this is how crazy coaching stuff is. Bob Stoops decides to punt the ball again, and the little fast kid runs it back for a touchdown, and Oklahoma State wins in overtime. 38-35. Mike's smart, Bob's dumb, and now the Cowboys go out there and they jump all to get after a Washington team, and they weren't even going to bowl. If the kid doesn't run the kickback, Mike's not bowl eligible. So Mike will be real dumb. Well, the kid runs the kickback, and Mike's smart. So, but again, that's the reality of coaching. They know that, but point being is now you got. There's probably as much you combine the momentum of those two ball games. You've got a young quarterback, this Mason Rudolph kid that Mike started playing late in the year as a true freshman, and he's got a chance to be pretty good. I mean, it's too early to sit here and say again he's not Dan Marino, he's not Troy Aikman, he's not John Elway. I mean that's some of my friends think that already, but. I mean, that's premature. But he's a good-sized kid who apparently, I don't know the youngster, but I hear good things about him as far as the ability to learn and retain and do all these kinds of things like this, which are rather important. But he's got a chance. His release is not as pure. I'm not again standing up here saying that he's Marino or something, but the kid's got a chance to be pretty good. They got to have something good happen for them at running back. That's kind of an issue for them. Mike's hired 3 new coaches over there, so you've got some transition stuff there. The difference being, again, my Oklahoma State friends will tell me, say, boy, Mike's really in a good mood. Gosh, he's really happy, and he's outgoing now. And, he was all serious there for a while. I said, well, 2 things here. That's what losing 5 in a row will do for you. That'll make you get all serious and everything. And the other thing is that, last year they were open with Florida State. Now they're opening with Central Michigan. You swap Florida State for Central Michigan, and your ass will be happy too, Pardon my French. So Mike's got, that's how coaching goes. You got Central Michigan, Central Arkansas, Texas San Antonio with our old friend Larry Coker, and so Mike's going to be 3-0. They're at Texas, and heavens knows where they are now. I mean, Arkansas drilled them in the bowl game, so that's not. If Oklahoma State will go down there and beat Texas, say they got Texas, Kansas State, West Virginia. Pardon me. Those are 3 very, very crucial. I think those are the ones to watch in there, particularly like I talked about with OU going to Knoxville. I think that Texas ball game on September the 26th will be the crucial one to see who gets the early momentum going there. But, then Kansas State, you can never count out Bill Snyder, West Virginia, who knows there. But then he's got Kansas, Texas Tech, TCU, who's probably the pick of the thing right now. But I guess the point being, Mike and them have got a chance. They've got a lot of momentum going right now. They're going to be 3-0. and they'll have a full head of steam. If they beat Texas, you know, then they've got a full head of steam going in this thing, and so it'll get real interesting. Again, with a young quarterback that people are very excited about. You know, defensively, they're going to be better. I don't think they're vintage, but I think they're good enough to win a lot of ball games. So that's again the contrast in the feeling of momentum in Stillwater and the question marks that surround things in Norman. I find very interesting right now. How much of it's real and how much of it's imagined remains to be seen. But again, that's kind of what happens in this stuff. I would caution anybody, you know, be a little bit careful what you read these preseason polls, and this stuff's already come out now. I mean, you can get a preseason top. The thing about preseason polls is, I think, you know, right now, if somebody said, give me the preseason top 10 in 2038, I could probably get about 7 or 8 of them right now because it's about the same crew every year. And you get to the, you know, when you, and again, I'll chide my journalistic friends sometimes when they'll have some of these reasons. I say, wait a minute now. They hadn't even started summer school yet, okay? And this is back to the reality of the coaching. Johnny flunks econ, or one of them smokes dope and you got to run him off, and you get dumb if he's the wrong guy. Or one of them gets in a fight and you got to run him off, or, you know, one of the things. When you deal with over 100 18 to 22-year-olds, okay? Things are going to happen. Some of them are good and some of them are not good. Again, that's the reality of it, you know, and so I guess what I'm saying here is realistically trying to figure out what my club might be capable of doing. You know, it's better to wait until they get through the summer school, and you always, you know, wait till who actually reports in two-a-days that one of them hadn't gotten into something over the summer, and go there. It's kind of like this recruiting stuff that we get into. You know, people ask me, well, why they signed a bunch of guys that had 4 stars by 5 stars. I said, look, I don't live in that world, and you know, don't hit me with that because it means zero, and the guys that are writing it know basically nothing. Some of them know a little, but most of them are just guys that got an assignment and they go write the thing. And then there is a vicious cycle with that stuff. Here's how that stuff goes. And I don't want to generalize about all guys who write about recruiting, don't get me wrong, but if I'm an assistant, because I've been through some of this, if I'm an assistant coach or a recruiting coordinator or sometimes a head coach, and I want to flower up my recruiting class, all I got to do is call the guy writing the column and say, wow, do you realize how good this kid is? Make up 3 schools that he visited. They don't know. So he visited SC, Notre Dame, and Florida. That guy doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know from Adam. But he'll publish it that the kid, you know, and wow, this guy got, you know, I mean, guys actually do that. I've sat and listened to conversations with assistant coaches calling some of these recruitniks and say, well, I signed this kid, and this kid, and let me tell you something here now. And all of a sudden, because you gave him the info, he writes the magazine now, and they have a list of the nation's best recruiters, and lo and behold, you're one of them. I'll be very honest about the way that thing comes down. So, you know, when if following this stuff, and I know that you know, that there is a kind of a cult following on it, the best way to do it with the recruiting stuff is, if you really keep up with it, is get the list initially, just see who they signed. Don't pay attention to anything else. And then see like this week in some places and next week in a lot of them, the freshmen now are reporting. Used to you couldn't pay for their first summer, but now you can. So and they won't announce who shows up, but it'll filter out. Well, if one of them doesn't show up now as a freshman, that means, okay, he's got an academic issue, and he's trying to get some work done before September. So, well, and wait a minute now, if he doesn't show up, and then sometimes he doesn't show up in September, but wait a minute, I saw him on that recruiting list. And by the way, he's ended up down here at Northeastern Oklahoma Junior College. There's reasons for that. And so point being, you know, don't get too hung up in all that kind of stuff. Just watch it, trace them, track them throughout their career and see how good they are and see what they do. But again, I think it's interesting with the Cowboys. It's you know, it could go either way. They could get on a heck of a run, or, you know, if lo and behold, if they drop one to Texas, Kansas State, West Virginia, now they're scrambling again. So that will be interesting. I have seen, I would assume, and we've got quite a few of our and I've seen TU. The interesting thing about the University of Tulsa, to me, is, and I was a big fan of Bill Blankenship because I knew him personally, and there were guys coaching on that staff that had played for us and that had coached for us. So I was obviously pulling for Bill and them, and you know, over a 2-year period of time, Bill got dumb. They were conference championships a couple of years ago, and they got stupid, so that didn't work out there. But I was being facetious. But again, the new hire over there, Philip Montgomery, I've watched them practice, and he's been around us up there doing some radio, and he's an impressive guy. For the TU people in here, if you hadn't had a chance to meet Montgomery, he's got, apparently to me, very good people skills. He started out in high school down there in Texas and worked his way up, and so he's not what I would consider a silver spoon guy in coaching. And he appears to be very approachable. Again, I've watched him practice over there, and there's nothing magical about any of it, but I will be surprised if on a couple of things, because I thought Dane Evans, a little quarterback over here, I thought a couple of years ago he was about ready to take off, and again, I don't know the kid. But, you know, he's had a very good spring. They expect things out of him. Now he's been around. He has played. I'll be surprised if the kid's not pretty good. I think this Coach Montgomery and his crew, again, I can't speak for them, but I know some of them. But I think they were pleasantly surprised. They had more receivers around than they thought coming in. I think there's more of them because they're into this fast break stuff, get a lot of plays run, spread out, throw the ball around type of deal. And they've got more receiver types than I think they would have first thought there. It'll be, I think they'll have enough running backs. They'll be interesting to watch offensively. I think they'll move the ball and all these kinds of things. I think defensively it's not going to be easy for them. I'll put it that way. So I would, if I was a TU somebody, I would, you know, there's going to be the new wave of enthusiasm that goes along with the new staff, and rightfully so. With their schedule, they open with Florida Atlantic over here at New Mexico and that at OU. The first two ball games, they're not going to beat OU, but the first two ball games are really crucial to them anytime you're into a new staff situation to get some early season momentum. I look at their schedule and I see them, and I think there's a lot of games that I think there would be toss-up type of games to me. I mean, they could, at this point in time, go either way. So, you know, you're into that sort of stuff, and I'm curious about it. I'll say this. These are nice guys. If you're a TU somebody and with this new staff, if you haven't had a chance to meet them, fine. So we had one Arkansas guy back here, right? Okay. I have seen them in the spring. Bielema and the coach over there have got them going in the right direction, okay? And any time you beat, when you're Arkansas and you beat Texas 31-7 in the bowl game, my buddies in Little Rock think he's real smart right now. He kind of went to the top of the list, but I have seen them. They're going about things really good, and they're doing some neat things. They play A&M the third ball game. See, they go UTEP, Toledo, Texas Tech. A&M, that's probably the early season, the close one to watch there. They'll beat those first three and then watch what happens with A&M to see what happens. The thing about when you're over there in that league in the SEC West, this scares me, and I'm out of coaching. You know, I look down at them, and it's at Tennessee, at Alabama, Auburn, at Ole Miss, at LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri. You'd rather have Central Michigan on that schedule. Going back to Mike's schedule. But again, I think these guys they'll continue to get better. The thing about that division is, and they saw it last year, you can get better and play pretty good and be just good enough to get beat. That's the problem with playing over there in that division. But Arkansas is certainly making headway on the thing. It's interesting that how much you want to get them out of here right at 1? Okay, we're okay. I've had occasion to, like Steve was talking about, I started coaching in high school in Little Rock in 1969, and, had been and coached 5 years in high school, and then all over in college football, and including 16 years at Oklahoma State and 11 as a head coach, and 10 years in the NFL. So I've been around some pretty interesting people. I think probably the most interesting guy that I've ever worked around and with is Al Davis. the late Al Davis, who was the owner of the Oakland Raiders. And just was eccentric, could be very much off the wall, but was one of these guys that if he liked you and you worked hard, he was intensely loyal to you. Is really as interesting as a guy, and you know, I've been around Frank Broyles and Jimmy Johnson, a bunch of, high-powered people and all, and I think Al Davis was probably the most interesting guy that I've ever worked with, for however you want to say it, and because I was, again, at that point in time, I was one of the older guys on the staff, so he liked to come in and sit and swap and tell war stories, you know, and which were, I can't repeat most of, but the really intriguing guy from a management style, for lack of a better term. You know, about the time that you thought everything was kind of rocking, he was kind of one of these guys, if there's not a crisis, I'm going to create one. You know, and if you hadn't been around, it would startle you. You know, our younger coaches, oh my gosh, he's still here, he's coming down the hall, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And if you'd been around, you'd seen some of this kind of stuff go before. So really, well, I'm chuckling. It wasn't funny at the time, but this was an example. This was usually in the NFL, when they get through with this month here, then they'll take the month of July, they'll give the coaches pretty much time off, sometimes staggered among your staff and this sort of thing. Anyway, Norv Turner was the head coach, and I'd been with Norv at Miami, and anyway, so Norv, he'd gotten the calendar worked out, and we'd sit in the staff meeting and said, okay, for this couple of weeks, you're gone, we need to have a guy around the office, that sort of thing. Well, we got guys all over creation, scattered out. They've gone, it's your time off. Well, Mr. Davis decided about one Wednesday in July, this Friday we're going to have a staff meeting, and I want everybody there. You know, and thinking, because I was there, it didn't make any difference to me. I was there in town. I'm thinking, Coach, we got guys all over every place. They're going home, but get back. And we must have met probably about 2 hours, and then he said, y'all have a good weekend. The moral of that was he's reminding everybody who's running the show, and don't you forget it. It doesn't make any difference if you're at Pinehurst in North Carolina and we have a staff meeting, you're supposed to be here. But that's a bit the way he was with things, but he was intensely loyal. Again, when I was out there, he was in failing health. But on the same hand, he was really an interesting guy to be around and observe. Unfortunately, I had a good relationship with him. He tried to get me to stay out there, and I had enough of all of it. But really an interesting guy. I know we're drawing short here on time-wise, and we certainly want to not keep you all too long. Questions, anything that you got? I know I've fired a bunch of stuff out. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a good question. The question was, and we're videoing, they wanted me to repeat it. So the part about the championship game in the Big 12, I'm glad you asked me that, because and let me talk in general about that league right now, or this league, however you want to say it right now. I'm not sure exactly where this league's headed. You know, the problem with it is that to be blunt about it, your two flagship schools, Texas and OU, get slaughtered in the postseason. Between the two of them, they won 14 games last year. And now, regardless of how good Baylor or TCU are, which they are, the perception is, well, the league's down, which it's always the case with your league. My guess is, I know Bob Bowlesby, that commissioner, and I've known him for a long time, and he's a quality guy and a very well-respected administrator nationally. I would have thought, at some point, whoever made the turn that cost this league, Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado, and A&M, there was a bad wrong turn made there. I mean, I can remember I was still over in Stillwater when the two leagues merged, or were talking about it and all, and that was a funny deal. Well, now where they are, if you expand and try to go get two, personally, I'd pull the Brinks truck up to Provo and try to get BYU. And now after that, it's a you pick 'em. You can make Arkansas's not going to do it. They'd make too much money in the SEC. You could make a run at Florida State. I know geography's all that, but there's no geography anymore on this stuff. So you try to get some. If you don't, my gut feeling on this is the hope. The hope is that the playoff expands from 4 to 8. And if it does, they'll be okay. I think if they try to make a playoff game just for the sake of making one, at the end of the year you say, okay, these are our 2 highest ranked teams, let's rematch them again. You would stand as much of a chance of costing you something, depending on the outcome, as you would gain something to get into the final, to the Final Four. I don't, they were coming out of the league office here for a while. It looked like that was what was going to happen. Then they have the league meeting, and apparently somebody stood up and said probably what I just did. And wait a minute now, this is not going to occur. So this league is kind of at a crossroads. To be real honest with you, I think if Texas know you'll get back to rocking and rolling like they normally do, then now let me say this: if Texas or OU had got in the position that TCU was in last year, and you go 13-1 and you get left out, we'd have 8 games tomorrow. Or if it happened to Notre Dame or SC or one of them, one of the iconic type of programs, and all of a sudden you get bumped out of the Final Four when you've had that kind of record, the playoff would have been 8 tomorrow. I think it's going to expand to 8 personally. I think it'll be sooner rather than later. I could be wrong, but that's my gut feeling, which I think will take care of that issue. But this league is it's in a funny place right now. I mean, because I coached at 2 Southwest Conference schools, and if somebody would have told me in 1975 or 6 that there would never be a Southwest Conference, I'd say you're crazy as you know what. There'll always be a Southwest Conference. Well, there's not a Southwest Conference anymore. You let OU or Texas bolt from this league, and then see what happens. I'm not saying that's going to occur, but this league is to me in a kind of a tenuous position right now. And again, nothing against the private schools, but this was the downfall, in my opinion, one of them of the Southwest Conference, when you have too many private schools with really nice 45,000 seat stadiums. When you fall off a little bit, that 45 can get to be about 32 or 3 real quick. I've seen that happen before. Whereas those other guys, talking about SEC, you look at their stadium, with the exception of Vanderbilt, they're 85, they're 75, they're 100, they're 100, and this league's in a funny place right now. So to answer your question directly, I'm glad you asked me that. I think the direction that this league goes with or college football goes with the playoff will determine some of that. Makes sense? Yes, sir.
How dumb do Mike and Bob have to get a change made?
You mean a fire head coach? I don't think. Oh goodness, I think either one of them. My personal opinion is both of them's body of work is really good. I've even since I've been out of it, I think you judge body of work. I don't think it's a what have you done for me lately. I know that there are other lines of thinking on that. I would wonder a little bit, because this business will wear you out now. It'll wear you out. And Bob has been down there now, 17 or this is his 17th year. I would wonder a little bit at some point that if they go through another about like what they did last year, does he have a decision to make? I don't think they'll make a move on him. I don't think that at all. And I don't mean this to sound bad, but the dynamics in Stillwater, you got a one-man show over there. One guy runs that university. Y'all know that as well as I do. Period. So, call out there at Amarillo and ask that cat, if you want to be real honest about it. They don't turn the sprinkler on over there if they don't ask him. Believe me. And I'm not kidding about that either. Anybody else got anything? Right? It's a funny time in, going along. College football is in a funny place right now because you got this. And we've got it right under our nose because you got TU over there. And I think what they've done, what Dr. Upham and them have done with that university as a whole is probably as impressive a thing as I've seen in Tulsa. It is. Again, but I can remember before, and David Rader still says, hey, that year I told him this a long time ago, I said this dressing room smelled like a wet dog, which it did. And the goalposts are cockeyed, and the place needs paint, and the whole deal. And now you go over there, and it is amazing what they've done with that university. Now, I'm real curious to see where the non-Power 5 schools, how they handle this thing. Because now they're going to start. See, they're starting this year. They voted this thing in, and there's going to be a stipend that's involved financially to the scholarship kids. And when you put a pencil to it, this problem with you put a pencil to it when you don't draw any more than they draw over there. You put a pencil to it and it doesn't come out right. It doesn't, and that's unfortunate. And I mean, I've heard it all, from parking to whatever. It's a funny deal, and being the AD over there is a real hard job. They're all hard. That's really hard, that level. Now, again, I coached at SMU too, and they're all hard. Try to figure all this stuff out. Now that you got to you're going to pay the scholarship kids roughly $2,500 a month. Where's it come from? Man, I know there's a lot of money in that foundation over there, but it's different issues. So I wonder a little bit about it, and I hate it because it's very good for Tulsa when they're good, I think. I mean, it creates a unique buzz that's not Oklahoma, it's not Oklahoma State, it's not Arkansas. There's a Tulsa buzz when they're doing good. So I mean, I really, it's good for us, all of us, that works over there. But that's that level. I hate to call it mid-major but that level right now, football-wise, not basketball or anything else, but football-wise, is going to be interesting to watch. I told somebody that if somebody made me the czar of college football, which they're obviously not going to do, I would expand it to 16-team playoff. I think if you did that, you would give the Tulsas and the SMUs a legitimate chance to figure into that. I mean, it could be done. There's been plans going way back that you could do it. It could be done. I don't think particularly now, it will happen. Again, I think it'll be 8, but to give. That's the one thing about college basketball, that the basketball coaches were a lot smarter. I know the nature of the sport's way different, but every time when they start practice, the guys at Butler or the guys at TCU or the guys at wherever think they got a chance to win it, to get in the tournament and win it. And when it's 104 and the coach is hollering at you and everything else, those kids at Delaware ought to be able to stand there and think, we've got a chance to get in this tournament. Well, they really don't now. They really don't. Or SMU or, whatever. They don't. So anyway, is there anything else anybody's got right quick that I certainly appreciate the opportunity to come. And again, anything you can do to help out Whitaker seriously is really, he does a great job. And congratulations to this group on, I think I was the keynote speaker at the very first IBO Awards thing, that's a long time ago. But, and have had the opportunity to introduce a number of those people because I'd coached them and all this. And this group does a great job. That's really a very, very, very well done affair. But, again, are you going to dismiss them or am I? Rhonda is. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. I tell you, isn't he so knowledgeable? Sometimes he was speaking a foreign language to me, but yeah, let's give him another round of applause. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to Celia Clinton School, and it's called First Team by Tim Green, I think it is, and you know the author, so that's great. Upcoming programs, James Pepper Henry, Executive Director of Gilcrease Museum, will be here next week, and then Ed Payton, Celebrity Attractions. Now, Coach, I picked out this song just for you. It's called Bust a Move, performed by Young MC for some light-up Rotary fun. We are adjourned.